Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I will be updating you on my Q2 goals. So this is very new for me. I've set goals before, but I haven't really tracked them. This year back, I did a kind of plan with me slash talking about my goals back in January. And I didn't even set these concrete goals. I think in the video I called them intentions. I didn't want to set goals for this year because I didn't really know how it would look, but now that I'm into it, I feel like I can kind of set some goals going forward. So what I did was I actually signed up for Laken's Patreon and I downloaded the Q2 planner and watched the replay of the video where she kind of breaks it down and goes through it and reflects on the past quarter to help you set goals for the next quarter. So I thought I would kind of go through what I've done so far with goal setting. So to start off, we actually reflect on the past month. And by the way, as I'll preface this by saying, I didn't make this pretty. I just kind of printed off the sheets and stuck them into, I had some extra discs and some extra dividers and a cover and stick them into an old Happy Planner. And so reflecting on the last month, I said that I feel about a 5 this month, and one word to describe it is roller coaster. That's because I felt like I had a lot of high highs and a lot of low lows. And so ultimately it was a lot and felt like a lot. Next, we fill in what went well, what am I most proud of, what did not go well, and what do I want to change next month. I found between these 4 questions, a lot of the answers were the same. When I actually started filling it out, I started filling in things that went well in February, and I realized, oh no, I did that in February, submitting my QE proposal, that's already done and out of the way. That was done in February, and so now I'm like, oh man, what did I do in March? It went by so fast for me. But I did things I accepted a contract for a job. I also finished the Learning to Bounce program, which was about balancing my health with school. And then I also got my QE feedback and got clarity on it. And that's one of the things I'm most proud on is how I handled the QE feedback. I remember I was obviously really disappointed and had a hard time at first, but ultimately I feel like I didn't spiral too much, and that I'm happy about. I'm also proud of submitting my proposal again. I technically did that in February, but I'm still happy that I got it submitted. I was taking a long time with submitting it and trying to make it as perfect as possible and really getting caught up on things. And I'm glad I just sent it and got it over with, especially now that I have the feedback. I'm happy that, it was submitted out of the way instead of waiting even longer to get this feedback. Getting the contract again. So I haven't started the contract yet because we're still waiting to clear stuff off with the bank. So if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but I'm still happy that I got it. As well as how I've been balancing work and school. I was able to celebrate my birthday this month as well as make progress on my QE, and so feel like I've been handling things very well with balancing it. I don't feel like it's a lot of progress I made in terms of past things, but I feel like I'm definitely doing better. In the past, if I had gotten my QE feedback and seen all the changes, I think I would have panicked and wanted to cancel birthday stuff and seeing my family and friends. And so I'm happy that I kind of stuck with that and set that time aside. I think it's going to help me kind of prevent burnout for my QE so that after the QE I can move on to my dissertation. So what didn't go so well? I did find the proposal feedback was overwhelming. It was a lot. And there's a lot I potentially need to change with my model, and so it was overwhelming, and at times I did feel stuck and I did spiral a little bit, but these were more on a day-to-day basis, so it wasn't longer than that. It might be I start to work on it, I start to spiral because I don't know what I'm doing, and then the rest of the day is kind of a write-off, but most days I've made progress, and even with feeling stuck and spiraling, I still made progress, even though maybe it's not as much progress as I wanted. And so what do I want to change next? So I want to continue to push through when I'm stuck and really get better, especially to that day-to-day. I think one thing I struggle with is if I get like really, really anxious and really stuck and spiraling, it's hard for me to come out of that without completely writing the day off. So I can like usually switch to like life things, like I can focus on doing life stuff, but it's hard for me to get back to work. And so I think I want to be better about trying to give myself space still to feel those feelings, but then be able to come back. And also, so one thing I think I really struggled with, especially working on my QE, and like this is just the reality of research, especially these large projects, is that you're doing work and it's not necessarily making progress toward the end goal. Like, for example, I got some QE feedback. I decided to look into some literature and I was like, oh my god, this doesn't even solve any problems. This just opens up more problems. And so I was like starting to spiral a bit from that because I'm like, how do I reconcile this with the theory I'm proposing for my QE? And so I think that's just the reality of like working with research and large projects is like sometimes you're doing work and it doesn't make this like huge progress, like it doesn't solve these issues, but regardless it's still work on the project and it will help, especially at my defense if I'm asked questions about it. Like now I have that knowledge. And so ultimately, even if it doesn't feel like progress, I need to just continue working and be proud of that, even if it's not something I can necessarily check off. And so that's something I kind of want to think about moving forward. And what I said I'm thankful for from the last month is learning to bounce, and the student accountability / writing groups have really kept me accountable to doing my work, learning strategies, and being more intentional about the work I'm doing. And so with that reflection in mind, we then jumped into our annual goal check-ins. So again, I kind of struggled with this because I did not set annual goals. I set like intentions. And so at first they're more solid, but as we go on, things become enmeshed together. So one of my intentions was to move my body. For progress, I put a sad face. Progress and what's working and what's not working, I found some repetition. Progress just because I wasn't being very like intentional about setting aside time to move my body. But I do find there are certain things that I do like to do when it comes to moving my body. So things like using an under desk bike. I don't necessarily use this as a workout, like count it as a workout, but if you're sitting at a desk all day, I highly encourage this. Like I feel better just knowing that even if I'm at my desk, I can like at least improve like circulation of my body because at least my legs are getting a bit of workout. It's also great for like if like you tend to fidget a lot, if you get anxious, like I find it's great like through meetings and like through writing to keep me focused because I'm moving my legs as I'm doing stuff. And so honestly, if you're I highly recommend an underdesk bike if you don't have it. You can get it for like $100 to $200 on Amazon, and I got one and I love it. But also what's working or that I always have loved is walking. I love going on walks, and I love doing yoga, especially like YouTube yoga. I have like a playlist of kind of my favorites. What's not working though? So one is the cold weather. Like that interrupts walking. Like I don't want to go walking when it's cold out, and like this winter has been pretty horrible in Canada, or at least where I am in Canada. It's only like starting to get in the positives now. Lots of low energy, which again, I don't want to work out if I like barely have like a lot of pain, a lot of like energy and muscle weakness, like things like that. Like oftentimes I wake up and I'm sore, I'm in pain. I have not very much energy, and on those days, obviously, I do not want to work out. As well as a lot of times I'm just not being intentional about moving my body. So I'm getting distracted during the day and I'm not even thinking about setting time into my schedule to work out. I was hoping just to be intentional about like learning more about my body and when to work out, but I haven't even set time of like I haven't been able to easily set time aside to reflect on that and think about it. And so what's next for me is I want to be more intentional during the week and morning about planning, otherwise I forget, but also check in with how I'm physically well-being as well. My next goal was experimenting with food. This one I made a lot of progress on. My partner and I like unintentionally became vegetarians. Like we just started to find these recipes we liked a lot, and like started to move towards like adapting recipes or finding recipes that just use beans or lentils or chickpeas. So we've been eating like a lot of Mexican foods or Indian foods, and we've been really enjoying them. And so I've been feeling like really good about where my diet's at. Like I've been trying a bunch of new things. I've been feeling good, I think, like financially around my diet, because we've been like having these um meal plans set out each week. Like we have these meals we're excited about so that we don't order in always. We do sometimes, especially now that it's the tax season, we're slipping up a bit. But like we're definitely getting better because we have these new meals we really like and we're excited about. And like also it makes me feel good. Like I'm finding with my Crohn's that food, like this diet is like helping me, especially where I'm at with my Crohn's. Like I'm on this medication that helps it. So if I was in the like my worst aspect, like this food probably wouldn't work. But for now, it's really working. I think it's because it's like a lower fat diet for me. So I'm really enjoying it. And so, as I said, what's working is I'm finding new recipes. I think especially we're not using copycats. So we're not trying to like, I thought vegetarian was going to be like harder because we'd be finding, like, we'd be trying to like find replacements for meals we already like. But I think that's what's working is not that. So in a sense, like if we were to like we can't replace steak. Like not that we really ever cook with steak, but like you can't replace like certain things, just texture wise and taste wise. But you can find like new other meals you like. And I think that's what's been working us is finding these other meals we like instead of like trying to replace things and figure them out. And that's what's been exciting. As well as they're less fresh. So now that we're using beans or lentils and things, it's okay if we're not craving it that day. Like with meat, it's always so iffy. Like at times it's like we have to finish the chicken even if we don't want chicken because it's going to expire. And even if we have meat and we freeze it, then we still need to give ourselves time to defrost it in the morning or the night before. And if that's the case, then we might not be craving it that day. Like, especially me, like I tend to get pretty intense food cravings. And so it's hard to know till the day of. And so that's what's great about beans and lentils is like, if we're not craving it, it's not really going to go bad from this day to the next. And so what's not working is eating out spirals. So we're really good and then we eat out and then we eat out for like a couple days in a row. And so like we have really good weeks and not so great weeks. And so what's next is to continue to meal plan, maybe even more, eat out less, and continue to find new recipes. So this goal is going good. The next ones are kind of like mishmashed together, and I don't even know what some of them mean. So one is managing burnout. So I was feeling very burnt out over, I don't know, over life, but over grad school, I haven't really gotten a break from the MA to the PhD. And so with this, I don't really remember how I defined it in my my original video, but for me here, how I kind of interpreted it was being intentional about taking breaks and like really just finding that balance with school and life, and so not becoming completely encompassed in one. And so for progress, I say I struggle a bit with this still, but I definitely have made progress. I feel like I'm definitely better at managing that work-life balance. I'm still trying to do fun things, so I've been better about implementing fun things, but I still experience a lot of guilt doing them. And so I think that's what I'm struggling with, is that guilt of doing fun things when I could be working. And so what's working is being more intentional about them. So that's really what I've been trying to do this year, is be more intentional about everything really I'm engaging in, but especially with work and life. So being really intentional if I'm gonna do something, if I'm gonna stop work and do something, almost giving myself permission to not do it. And what's working is I don't even know what that point is. It's just taking break rather than taking it. I don't know what I'm trying to say. But yeah, what's working is trying to be more intentional instead of just like mindlessly becoming a compass within like my phone and doom scrolling or mindlessly doing things, but really trying to be intentional if I'm going to step away from not doing work. But what's not fully working is I'm not fully giving myself permission, even though I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. I don't care about work, like wherever I'm at, but I'm gonna do this. I still feel a lot of guilt and shame. And I don't know if it comes back to these should thought patterns I've put here. So, like I should be doing. So I think examples are, especially on the weekends, like I've kind of unofficially given myself permission to take weekends off, but I don't fully. And I still have that underlying mentality that I should be doing work on the weekend. And so the thing is, I know I feel really good when I also do work on the weekend, and I feel really bad when I don't. And so even though I've kind of half given myself permission, I'm like, it's okay if I don't get work done, but if I do, that's great. I still haven't fully given myself permission to take it off. And I think that's why I still feel guilty, is that's like underlying, well, I should be doing this even if I don't want to. And so I think I'm just gonna have to keep kind of challenging that, keep trying to be more intentional about taking breaks and checking in with myself. Especially I think when it comes to weekends, like if I do want to take it off versus don't. And I think maybe being clear about what work I want to get done that weekend or setting a time limit. I also want to set up some study sessions in the week to make sure I am working towards finishing my QE. So I set a goal with Laken to do 10 hours a week on my QE. I found this is kind of also, this is where like the goals kind of get enmeshed, because I guess that kind of falls under do the hard things. But yeah, essentially I want to make sure that I'm spending 10 hours a week on my QE. I think for me, and especially with having a chronic illness, it's so hard to know what my day is going to look like and how I'm going to feel that day. And so if I set certain day periods, that's hard, like a certain amount of hours per day, that's hard for me. But I think, as I was talking with Laken, I think the time periods work better, like having a time, like minimum time to achieve, because with research, like so many tasks can be like, it's so hard to estimate the time, and honestly it can go on forever. Like if it's like research this body of literature, like I can spend literally forever researching it, and it's so hard to estimate how long it's going to take me. And so some weeks are very variable in what they're doing. So I feel like setting this 10 hours might be good. I don't know, we'll try April and see how it is. Yeah, see, I literally drew an arrow to move it here. Okay. And then so that brings me to my next goal, or like intention, which was to do the hard things. And so with like anxiety, I tend to avoid the hard things and want to procrastinate and put them off to the last minute, things like QE and work and things like that. And so one of my intentions has been to just do them. And so as for progress, I joined some writing groups this semester, and that's really helped me find a safe space to do those hard things. And I think that's what's working, is like naming this as my safe space to do those hard things. Like I know I have the space that I can go do them, that if I'm avoiding them, I can do them. Um, and what's not really working though is those only occur twice a week on Thursday, Friday. Next semester will change, but for this semester. And so sometimes I avoid things till Thursday, Friday because I know I have this safe space. So maybe what's next is continue to do the study sessions and writing groups to help keep me accountable. There's like a co-working website where you can like co-work with people, so maybe doing that so that I could spread it out through the week so that I'm not like waiting till the end of the week to do like the really scary tasks. And so my last two intentions were great intentions but horrible goals, because I think so much was tied into them. I had to separate some things. So one was being mindful and another was enjoying the process. So being mindful, I think I wanted this to be kind of like fully encapsulated within my whole life. So not just one thing. Like I wanted to be finances, I wanted it to be work, I wanted it to be life, I wanted to be doing fun things, like everything, just to be mindful about, like my body, what I'm eating. But like I feel like that's way too big and scary. And so I think I'm gonna try to break it down a bit. So one thing that I said, progress, that learning to bounce program has helped a lot with, including strategies, learning to be mindful and intentional about what I'm doing. And so one thing I've implemented more recently is I've been journaling every morning. Not every moment, every morning. So I have a list of like questions that I can pull from the morning, but I'm kind of liking three I journal, which is how am I currently feeling? How do I want to feel today? And how can I get there? And I feel like that's been really good about being intentional about how I'm feeling. So, especially with the chronic illness, if I'm having a really horrible day, recognizing that and making space for it, but also recognizing like what I can do to help get myself to feel at least a little bit better. So, maybe it's like stretching or drinking some water or going for a walk, like really anything. And so, I've been really enjoying that, and I want to keep that going. And what's not really working, as I said here, is it's just not specific enough to be a goal. I think it's a good intention, but like it's not, it's an intention about being intentional. Sorry, just realized that. But um, don't really have a goal, so I'm kind of start journaling here because I think that'll be my goal for at least this quarter. And next is enjoying the process. So this, again, I think I met with many things, such as like the wedding, with school, with work, with life and everything. But here I've kind of relabeled it to be like recreation. And so I've actually been doing very well on this in certain areas. So I've been reading lots. I think I'm at 9 or 10 books so far this quarter. I know that's not as lot as like a lot of other avid readers, but for myself, I really have not read much while I've been in school just because all my reading tends to be like for school. And so I had a really hard time reading for fun, but I've really gotten into audiobooks and I got a subscription from the library, so now I get free audiobooks and that's been amazing and really helped me power through. Especially I've been finding it's really helpful to do when I'm walking, when I'm going anywhere, and when I'm like cleaning. And so it's great for that. And so I've been getting a lot of reading done. I've also kept up with my planning, which is great. Aside from being functional, it's also like a really enjoyable thing for me to get creative. And so I've kept up with that. What I have been not so great about is cross stitching. So like I started a piece I think in November and like just finished it, and like before it would take me like a week maybe to finish a piece. And so I haven't been keeping up with that. I think what I'm gonna do is habit stack it. So that's where you like stack it with another thing. So I'm gonna try to stack it with when I watch TV. I'm also gonna cross stitch and maybe that'll help. Another thing that I'm not so great at is I get in spirals where when I start one episode of TV, I can't stop. And when I go on my phone, I also can barely stop. And so I think I need to be, I don't really have a goal towards this, but it's just something I wanted to mark down to be mindful about. Um, so here I haven't really thought anything out. Maybe I can set time limits or just be mindful about what activity I'm doing in line, and I'll get in later what my actual goals are because we do have an opportunity to brainstorm and set them. Next up, so I kind of wanted to separate finance and wedding just to put it here. Finances, I put a sad face. I actually like now that I think about it, it's good. It's not, I'm spending a lot. I am spending a lot, but I'm working 3 jobs right now, so I'm actually making way more than I'm spending, and I am saving quite a bit for the wedding, so that's great. But I think because how much I'm making compared to how much like I'm not getting in debt. Like I have no problem paying my credit card, but it's just I could be spending a lot less and be saving even more. And so that's probably why I put the sad face. Also, it's kind of sucks to work 3 jobs. Like it'd be nice to work one job and then, have enough to live off of. But I'm actually loving working 3 jobs right now. So that's keeping it's keeping me busy. It's keeping me happy that my bank account is at a good number. And so what's next is maybe having more frequent check-ins with my credit card and being more intentional about my spending. Lastly is wedding. I put a happy face here. Honestly, it's going really well. Like we are on set for all the big things, all the small things, we still have lots of time to do. What's working, I have a wedding bullet journal, which I'm loving, but also at the same time it's not working because I'm not really making time aside to go for it. But when I do go for it, I get lots done. So maybe I have to think about incorporating more time in. And as I said, we're making progress. Like right now there's no issues. We're doing all the things we need to do. what's really not working for me is just like I'm having a lot of anxiety over all the unknowns, over if things don't work out, especially because we're doing a destination wedding. I'm terrified about flights getting canceled because right now they're horrible in Canada. I'm worried about COVID spreading. I'm worried that like someone won't be able to travel because like a passport issue because everyone's now trying to get their passports done. I like a million things are going on in my head that I'm just like have a lot of anxiety over. And so I guess partly it's just wanting to let go of perfection and trying to stop these spirals and maybe think of like set time aside to think of the work on my wedding bullet journal, but like also then think about like the happy, exciting things I'm looking forward to. And so now we get to the Q2 brainstorm. So on the side here, I put everything that I have coming up in Q2. And so that I can consider when I kind of brainstorm goals. So I have my QE, so I have my proposal, my paper, the defense. I have my job. So we're going to be doing interviews. We have our data analysis from the interviews and the surveys we've done. And then we also will be planning the next study. For my TA ships, I'm going to have lots and lots of grading because I'm wrapping up 2 TA ships now and it'll be a lot of grading between them. Plus I'll be starting more TA ships in May. It's also tax season for my partner, so he's an accountant, not regular, like, we have regular taxes, but, like, he's an accountant too, so, like, he also will be busy and working late hours. It's just something I want to Mark to be mindful of, because then it means I have to, like, from now until the end of April, really, like, step up in the home and make sure we're on top of things, since he's working, like, horrible hours right now. And will be till the end of April. We have wedding planning. We're going to a concert. It'll be my first concert since the pandemic, which is scary. Hopefully it'll be okay. I'll be wearing a mask at least, so hoping it'll be fine. We also want to see lots of friends and family. We're visiting my partner's mom probably lots because she lives a couple hours away. But my partner, because he's an accountant, like right now is busy, but in the summer he gets Fridays off, and so we can always take long weekends and go and visit her, especially since she like lives farther away. It's easier to have like those long weekends to go see her, so we're hoping to see her lots. Plus he's having a family reunion with his family, so we'll have that. And here I just put holidays and long weekends because we might be celebrating that with friends or family. And so here I've kind of drawn a bunch of arrows. So for work, that was a little more clear to do the hard things. And really with my QE, I have these like 3 milestones, which is the proposal, the paper, and defense. And my goal is to work 10 hours a week. I haven't really set deadlines for this because my proposal, like I can't start the paper till the proposal's done. The proposal, I don't know if I'll have to go through another round of feedback or not. And like the defense, you don't really set until you've got working on the paper and you know when you have your deadline, because you have to submit the paper 2 weeks before the defense and exactly 2 weeks before. You can't submit it earlier or later. And so these dates will just depend on this date, but this day's kind of up in the air till my committee says it's good enough. And so really I'm just working 10 hours a week, trying to set aside 10 hours a week to work on it. Next is health and wellness. So I really like these 2 goals. They were clear for me. One is moving my body. The other is meal planning / experimenting with food. Fun is being intentional about breaks. I've started, but I've also put a question mark here because I'm not really sure how to do it. I think I do schedule it in though. I also put diamond painting because I got that to try. Planning, cross-stitching, reading. I started that because I'm really enjoying reading and I think I can keep up with it. Wedding, I put this down, but like plan, fill out Boudreaux, it feels a little less, like I feel like I don't need to mark it in my planner. Like I have a to-do, like a long list of like all the things, as well as use my Boudreaux to make decisions. But like I don't have like certain milestones I'm trying to reach. Like I don't really need to plan it. Like me and my partner, it's like, oh, we need to do this, and then we do it. Like it's pretty small, the wedding stuff for us, so like that's left at least. So like we don't really need to set, I think, goals for this. Maybe like closer to the date we will, but for now we don't. Finances, maybe save some money, although I'm pretty good at that. I could set a number if I want, to save some additional money. And I can also limit spending, or at least, and I put down here, be intentional about my spending. So these are all kind of ideas that I thought like to brainstorm while considering what I could do for quarter two. And then I actually get into my quarter two goals. So I would consider this more brainstorming because it's not exactly set. Like this stuff, like I move from here to this, but really it's in my month that you see the changes. And so my one idea is to defend my QE. So this is a nice concrete goal. I defend it. I didn't want to put pass yet because I might not pass it. I might have to do like another defense, which would happen in quarter three of the year. So at least for quarter two, my goal is to defend it. If I don't pass, then I can put in quarter three pass my QE. The outcome, and so the outcome, impact, feelings, and why I felt like kind of all meshed together to the same thing. So the outcome is that I'll be a PhD candidate. So I'll move from a student to a candidate and I can move on with my dissertation and I'll feel like this weight's kind of lifted. I can move on to the next steps and really this has helped me get my goal of being a PhD. And so I guess if I was to define this goal, it would be to spend 10 hours a week working on my QE. I checked off that it's chronological and numerical because I have these 3 milestones, as well as I'm going to set some hour sessions throughout the week to work on it, as well as join some writing groups. Then for this goal, it was to move my body. The outcome is, pain or soreness maybe. So I wanted to note some of maybe the negative outcomes is I might experience additional pain and soreness, but ultimately I'm going to have strength, energy, flexibility, endurance. I'm going to feel some happiness from the endorphins and ultimately will be healthier. So I set a goal of twice a day for 5 times a week. I wanted to be more explicit with what I'm doing with this goal so that I actually think about it, because right now I'm just not thinking about it. And I put numerical and progressive because I can, like, I have a set time, but then I can also, it's ongoing and I can continue to build onto it. And I've listed ideas like here. I can go for a walk and that I can use that as a time to listen to my book. I can cycle at home and I can do yoga. And I figure for now I'll do a no minimum time. I can use this. I know like some people who are goal people might hate this idea. But for me, with a chronic illness, like some days I just need to be in bed. Like some days I cannot get out of bed. Like I'm just too sick and cannot do it. And so those days, if I have no minimum time limit, I'm going to be more likely to stick to that goal of just doing something to move my body. Even if it's like stretching in bed, whatever. Like whatever kind of gets me to keep with this goal on those bad days, then that's great. But I think this will at least help me learn how to be intentional with moving my body based how I'm feeling, because I can reflect how I'm feeling that day and what's going to work for me to move my body, whether it's going for an hour walk or hike or doing some bed yoga. Whatever it is, I just want to do it. Next up is experimenting with food. So outcomes are like stomach pains with Crohn's, energy, finances as well, impact on health and food waste. That's an important thing for me, as well as food waste, and just feeling nice and full because I'm eating what I want. And so it's goal defined is to meal plan each week. So this is something my partner and I have already been doing, but I want to keep doing it for now. I might want to maybe meal plan like twice a week, like break it down even further, or also maybe in the future have goals around how much I'm eating out. But for now, just meal planning for the week is helping keep us accountable to not eating out and trying new foods. Next up, we have being intentional about spending. So originally I put check-in every week, but I think when I go to set it, I actually set it for 2 weeks. So the outcome is we'll have money for savings, for our wedding, no debt, which is nice. We're not really in debt now, but like I don't want to fall in debt. I guess we do have debt, like we have student loans, but that I don't really count it. I know, okay, sorry, finance people are gonna hate on me. I don't really count student loans as debt right now, mostly because like for me they're paused because I'm a student, and so I don't really worry about them since they're paused. I do worry about them, but it'll be like something I think about once I have a full-time job. Impact is finances, and I'll have that feeling of security, and really it'll set us up for success by having more savings. And so goal defined is to maybe, so I like with every paycheck planning, like I already do this, so I'm paid on a bi-weekly basis. So basically when I get my paycheck bi-weekly, because it does change very differently, because one of my jobs is by the hour, and it can change greatly what the like final paycheck looks like. And so I like taking that paycheck, I like paying off any credit card I have, and then I like putting money in savings, and then I like putting aside the rest to plan for like the next 2 weeks. And I like doing that every 2 weeks. Something I was also thinking about is maybe actually checking my banking app, because like it's easy to sign in anytime I go to buy something online. Like I thought that was a really good idea, but I end up not moving it to April, and I'll kind of get into why again probably, but essentially why I didn't move it to April is just um Laken, like when going through the goals, she suggested checking off one goal, like crossing it out and not focusing it on for April. So I think I'd cross that off, because I have a bunch of new goals happening in April that I think take precedent, and I can move to that then. I'm also spending less than I was beforehand, so it's already kind of getting better. But yeah, I think I'll just stick with checking in every 2 weeks and budgeting every 2 weeks. And my next goal is being intentional about taking breaks. So I don't want to discourage breaks, but I just want to be intentional when I'm taking them that I need the break and I'm not getting in this spiral. So the outcome is not having these shame spirals, because I've given myself permission, as well as I'm not procrastinating because I'm being intentional that I need the break when I take them, not because I'm trying to distract myself from work. And so the impact's my mental well-being. I'm gonna feel a bit at peace, and it'll ultimately impact other areas of my life. So I do change this goal quite a bit once I actually go to set it up for April, but I originally defined it as checking in during pop breaks, such during the day if stuck or upset or anxious. How I've decided to move forward with this goal for April is I'm gonna set up, so I know folks have like morning routines and night routines, but that's never worked for me because my days look very, very different. Like some days I need to be up at 7 a.m. and some days I can sleep until 10 a.m. And it's very different what each day looks like. And so I've been thinking of like setting up like instead of a morning routine and a night routine, like a beginning of workday routine and an end of workday routine. And I think that will help me be kind of intentional about what I'm doing that day. I figure having that will help me like be on track for during the day, like setting my intentions for what I want to do that day and how I'm feeling, like being able to reflect on it, think about how I'm doing, get started for the workday, as well as then at the end of the workday when I decide to check out, that I know I'm checking out for like I'm giving myself permission to check out for good. And so just as I'm working throughout the day, having those check-ins, and then when I'm ready to sign out for the day, following that routine to know that I can give myself full permission to take that full break and just sign off for the day. And I don't really know what this will work like yet. That's one of my April goals, is to kind of figure that out. But as I figure that out, I can do an update if folks are interested. One of my other goals is to journal about my intentions, / engage in mindfulness through journaling. And so this impacts my mental well-being. I can be more intentional and use like various coping strategies to deal with the day. And to define it is to journal or engage in mindfulness every morning before work sessions. And so this will, I think, come part of my like beginning of work routine is journaling. I'm hoping to do other things as well, maybe like engage in like a 2-minute grounding activity to really ground me to the space so that I don't feel disconnected or feel like out of my body. But yeah, I think that'll be part of my morning routine. Or like morning work routine. I'm still trying to figure it out. So I'm gonna start by journaling every morning, and I have these 3 questions here that I like. What am I feeling? What do I want to feel? And how can I get there? And eventually I could move to maybe doing this 2 times a day. So do it before like a work begins and do it after work begins. And I have here, want to follow work period study session guide to help with mindfulness. So I already kind of have like from the Learning to Bounce program a like idea of what that beginning of the study session guide will look like. As I said, it's like a grounding activity, being intentional about the work I'm going to do. And so following that and probably incorporating it in my routine. And lastly, it's to do something fun. So I really want to avoid burnout, be relaxed and feel happy. And ultimately, this will motivate and inspire me for my work. And so I want to do something fun each day. And for this, I've decided that shopping does not count, nor does TV or phone. They do not count as something fun, but there is no minimum time limit. So I can literally read for a minute, or cross stitch, or diamond paint, or plan, but whatever I'm doing something fun that I enjoy. And so that brings me to my Q2 goals, as I'll just quickly go over them. So defend my QE, move my body, experiment with food, be intentional about spending, journaling, do something fun, create study habits, and create a study break plan. So they've kind of changed a bit from how that was defined, but that's kind of what I want to do, is to create those good study habits and study breaks. I know I already have them because I'm in the PhD, but I want to continue to refine them. And so now when we get to the month itself, we start by reflecting on what we want this month to look like. So what are you looking forward to this month? I wrote Easter long weekend. I do not celebrate Easter really, but like I'm not religious, but it's still having the long weekends, the opportunity for my family to get together. I will be also ending my TA-ships, and I'm not going to be teaching any seminars, at least for now. Maybe in the fall I will. And we will be getting our tax refund back. What are other prior commitments this month? So I have grading, I have the qualifying exam, I have my job, and maybe the contract. Still working it out exactly. And then what other resources might be limited this month? So Brendan has tax season, that's my partner. So the home will need extra attention. My QE, I really need to get my proposal in again. And work, my boss is on holidays, so I need to account for that with the work I'm doing. And is there anything else that could impact your goal progress? So my energy levels, a bit of burnout from the semester, if I have any like flare-ups or just general symptoms from my illness, and friends and family if they need any support at all, if they have things going on. So I rated this month a 7 out of 10. I feel like that's pretty good for April. That's pretty normal for being a grad student, for your Aprils to be busy because you're wrapping up the semester. So you have lots of grading, you have a lot of projects to wrap up from the semester before you move to the next one, but you're also trying to plan for the next semester at the same time. So what goals do you plan to focus on? So I broke it down by monthly, weekly, and daily. I think Laken has you not usually do this at this step, but I like listing them here so I can understand of the ones I'm picking, what ones I want to focus on. I don't have a lot just because I don't want to get overwhelmed with too much stuff, because I do have, like, these goals are like second to my work in life. Like, it's being a grad student is my number one priority, and for that I have my own goals I need to set to accomplish. These are just extra stuff to kind of take my life to the next level and feel like I'm at my best. And so for my monthly goals, I have signed up for the study groups for the summer semester. I have created a study schedule. I created one already for April, but the study schedule will look very different in the summer. So just carving out really that 10 hours a week. Budgeting times 2, so I'll do this bi-weekly with the paychecks, and then the study habit list routine I was talking about, and break plan, so creating that kind of beginning and end workday routine. Weekly, I have working on my QE for 10 hours, and then I also have meal planning each week. Daily, I have journaling, I have something fun, I have actually engaging in the study or beginning of workday routine, and engaging in the break or end of workday routine, and lastly, moving my body. And so these are what my goals look like so far. So I have signed up for writing groups, create the April work schedule, 10 hours a week, create a study work routine, create a break end of workday routine, budget pay 1, budget pay 2. Weekly, I have the meal plan, and the QE I broke down by 2-hour blocks just because it's what fit there. I was talking with my friend because we were working on this together, and we were talking about how it still might be helpful to mark how many hours I'm working a week, because 10 hours might not be realistic some weeks, but it might still be good to check off if I'm working 8 hours. Obviously, if I'm working too, though, that's a problem, but it should be good to still note it to recognize that that's a problem. I don't believe that that's the case, though, because between the writing groups I'm already in, I'm doing 5 hours a week. So I just had to fit in an additional 5 hours in, which I normally do anyways. Like, I don't think it should be issued to do 10 hours, but I think it'll be nice to have that marked and like keep track of it to see, because again, as I said, like I can't necessarily see the progress I'm working towards, but I can still, if I track the hours, I can see that progress. I can see, nope, I set 10 hours a week to work on this and I'm getting it done. As for daily, we have again journaling, we have the morning work routine, we have the end of workday routine, we have do something fun, we have move your body times 1 and move your body times 2. I also have in my like weekly planner habit trackers, and normally I track other things as well. I'm debating whether I'll keep both because it might be a lot to try to reflect on this every day as well as reflect on that. I'm not really sure how I'm going to incorporate it yet. But so far, that is my Q2 planning. Thank you so much for watching. It's my first time kind of doing this video. If you like this video, please give it a like. You can also subscribe. You can also comment to let me know if you want to see more. And you can also comment and let me know what your goals are for Q2. I'm interested to hear if you have any goals, as well as if you have any tips for the goals I've set. Thank you so much for watching.